Hey guys, William Hadnett here from SeaPark Consultancy. We're an Irish-based SAP consultancy, and we specialize in SAP DataSphere and BW migrations. And today we'd like to introduce you to our new tool that we're developing in collaboration with our partners Interdobs, called WavePath. And I'm going to hand over to Ronald now just to give an overview of Interdobs.
Yeah, thank you, William. So my name is Ronald Knijberg. I work for Interdobs. So we have been around for the last 20 years. And we basically do the same as our good friends over at SeaPark. That's also the reason why we work together. We share the same level of expertise. And we built something beautiful, which we would like to demo today for you. So William, maybe you can give some insights on the insights part.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Ronald. So WavePath is what you see in front of you, and there's two tracks in WavePath. One is the insights track, and the other is the migration track. And in the insights track, what we do is we extract the metadata and structures from your BW system, and we essentially review those structures and then give you some feedback on those structures from BW. So the overview tab here gives a very nice overview of the system that we're currently looking at. In this case, it would be A4H, the total number of objects in your system, and the total number of transformations involved in the BW system. We get a nice breakdown here of object type distribution. So as you would expect, most of the objects in this system are info objects. Then we have transformations, ADSOs, reports, and info areas, communication structures, etc. And then we give you an overview of the complexity of your system. So what we're saying here with WavePath is essentially WavePath can handle the migration of trivial to simple transformations, and it can handle some of the medium transformations as well, and it can automatically migrate those to your target landscape, whether that be Databricks, Snowflake, or DataSphere. You'll see here we also have complex and very complex transformations, and in that case, some assistance, the AI would require some assistance from a consultant or a developer to help migrate those objects. And again, we give a breakdown here. So you can see 473 transformations can be auto-migrated, and the rest will require some assistance from the tool. Again, here on the objects tab, we get a breakdown of the object distributions, and we get the total number of objects of each type of object in your system. So again, 1,700 info objects, 676 transformations, etc. And for your info objects classifications, we then also give a breakdown of which ones are migration relevant, which ones are reference only, and which ones are key only as well. Additionally, we also visualize the lineage within your BW system. So what this actually looks like here is you can see we have a HANA DB source, and it's loading to an open ODS view here as well. This one's quite a simple lineage, but for example, if we take something like this FBPA, you can see we have a data source, and it's going through a transformation to an ADSO, and then there's a number of other transformations, etc., happening as well, and the data has been staged in a number of different ADSOs. So these lineage diagrams can get quite complex as well, but it gives a nice overview of how the data is flowing. Reporting, then as well, we get a breakdown of all the reports / queries within your system, and a little bit later down, we get some information around the actual calculated, and further down the page, the restricted key figures that are involved in your BW system. So that's the sort of insights track. So we get a nice overview of the structures and objects within your BW system. Then the next track is the migration track, and this is where we actually take all this information and we make it useful. So at least from a migration perspective. So you can see here we have a migration roadmap. This migration roadmap takes on the form of a wave topology. And for this particular system, our AI agent has determined that we will require 11 migration waves. So wave 1 here, you can see is marked in red, which means it's very complex. it requires, or it has 100 or 517 points. And if we were to ask a developer to manually complete this activity or this wave, it would take them approximately 57.4 days to do that. Wave 2 then is by far here your most complex wave, and that generally makes sense because these will typically be your base structures, and then you'll have transformations on top of those base structures. And you can see by far this is where the bulk of the man effort or man days would go into actually migrating your BW system to Databricks, Snowflake, or Datasphere. And that follows suit down here. You can see 2,000 points to migrate Wave 2 and 583 days. Again, we give a little bit here on the wave complexity. So now you get a breakdown of, okay, I have 258 ESOs in Wave 1, 128 communication structures, 63 data sources, etc. Okay, so once we've reviewed the SQL code, then we can jump into scope. And this is where the magic happens. Essentially, from here, we can select the providers that we actually want to scope and migrate to the target landscape. So, for example, you can see here, I'm going to take this composite provider, which is the contract management composite provider, and I'm going to calculate the impact, which we've already done. So if we have a look here, you can see that there's 14 objects involved in this, and there's 6 transformations, and it actually spans across 8 waves. And there's a total effort of 110 points. 5 of the transformations can be auto-converted, and 1 will require a manual assistance. So now if we generate the SQL, you'll see the agents are going to go to work, and they're going to start generating the actual SQL for all the BW structures. And the next step then, once we've generated these structures, we can decide what target platform we would like to push the structures to. Today, I'm going to show you Datasphere, and then afterwards, Ronald's going to show you how to push the content to Snowflake. So for Datasphere, we select push to DSP and test and continue. And then it will come back once it's validated with the Datasphere tenant, which is our test tenant. We can then see sort of a semi migration plan of what it's actually going to do. So you can see these data sources, it's going to convert to local tables, transformations, etc. And then we press execute. And what the agents will do in the background is they will actually start the process of converting the SQL to CSN. And then CSN is the format that Datasphere understands, so it can deploy these CSN objects to Datasphere. So I'm going to pause my side for now, and let's see. We'll come back in a second once that's deployed. It takes a bit of time, and I'm going to hand you over to Ronald then to push the objects to Snowflake.
Sure. Oh, it starts deploying already, William.
Yep, it's starting to go.
We should have a table. So in the meantime, I will let me share my screen. So yeah, let me show you quickly the Snowflake part. So like William explained, we have the possibility to push the metadata basically also to 2 different environments we currently set up. More will follow in the future, but for now we also have the possibility to push to Snowflake and Databricks. So I'm just gonna push it into a new catalog I just created, or new schema I should say. So you can see it's called demo. It's completely empty. So now I go into the same section as William was. So we go into the scope. Now comes the harder part of any conversion, which is finding the info area, which is called ZMMPURV. I think we took number 2. So same thing, calculate the impact. And of course, this is all similar. The only thing which is different is that we are actually not generating CSN now, but we're generating SQL. SnowSQL, for lack of a better word. So now we're generating the agents are writing the SQL code. And now finally I can push to Snowflake. So we should already have a connection. So it actually has a connection now. So I can select my database, which was called BW Migration. Then I can select my schema, which was the demo one, which was the empty schema I just had. Push on next. Similar thing. So also Snowflake will create a table. It will create tables for the transformations. and it will eventually also create, of course, a view. And what it also will do is actually, for this part of for the demo, we will also do something with the data loading part, or at least the business logic, which is in the transformation, that will be translated into store procedures. Might be something we change in the future into pipelines, but for now we transfer it into store procedures. So this should actually be relatively quick. So it's done. So if we go now back to our Snowflake environment and I press refresh, we basically have three types of objects. We have the tables. So we again have the 2LIS ITM. We have the view, so the composite provider. It actually migrated with all the details, all the content of the code. And we have the store procedures, which actually hold all the loading logic into the transformations, or via the transformations, I would say. Of course, we have all the cool features like auto-generating descriptions of columns, but we'll leave that for another day. How's your deployment going, William?
Hey, it's coming along. There's a few more objects left to deploy.
All right, shall we jump into the AI assistant for a sec, and then jump back into your demo, and you can finish it off with pushing something into DataSphere?
Yeah, sounds
by
good.
AI. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So what does everybody always ask? Of course, is how complex how complex are my transformations? That would be my first question if I would be a migration consultant. Transformation, or what is actually my most complex? What is my most complex? Is my most complex transformation. So the cool part of this is that you actually are reading now all the metadata, the system we extracted from the BW system. So we're not doing a call back to the BW system, but we're actually pulling it up from the extraction we already did. So we also don't have to connect to the BW system continuously. We just get a flavor of exactly what is already there. So apparently we have something which is fairly complex. It has some ABAP routines. Now, normally you would say, okay, you would have to go into the system in the GUI or Eclipse, double click on the line, you get the code, and now we can just say, give me the full code, the full ABAP code, and it should pull it up. So it's getting the source code. So actually we see now that the transformation is there. It is an extremely long, apparently, transformation. So it picks up the first part. We could ask it to pick up the second part later on. And then we get the full code. So exactly like William also explained when he was going through the transformations. So this is already pretty cool. You could even ask it now to do, if you do a bit of vibe migration, you could ask it to generate SQL code out of this. So generate the SQL code for this ABAP. So then it will actually go through the details, figure out if there's a way of generating this into ABAP, and come back with the ABAP list. As this is a very complicated one, it's probably a very long statement, but it now has a way, let's say, to convert it from ABAP into SQL code, which it's now doing. So let's say that we want to push this actually to DataSphere. Let's take a slightly simpler example, William, I guess, because otherwise we'll be here for tomorrow. But I'm assuming that your deployment is finished. All right, let's switch over then to you.
So the last thing that we need to do now is we need to show the WavePath migration assistant deploying objects to DataSphere just via casual conversation. So I'm just going to provide the agent with a prompt, and this prompt is going to look something like deploy a view to DataSphere, joining certain tables on certain keys using a left join. Give it a name, in this case 2LS02 composite, and basically use the BW metadata that we've extracted from the BW system. So if we send this request, the agent's going to go off and have a think, see what's deployed in DataSphere already, check the BW metadata, and then it's going to start constructing the CSN on the fly to actually produce the object that can be pushed to DataSphere. It's going to take a couple of minutes to think about that, and then once it's done thinking, it will actually start executing. And you can see here that it's already making some smart decisions. So it's taking the item and it's prefixing those fields with item, and it's also taking the schedule lines and prefixing those with the schedule lines a prefix. And now it's going to kick over to actually deploying these custom objects to the DataSphere tenant. So within sort of a few more seconds, we should start to see sort of a plan coming back, or at least it telling us what it did to actually deploy these objects. So you can see now it is all the field metadata. The result is that our view that we've requested has been successfully deployed and it gives us a little bit of information about the actual deployment here and some column breakdowns as well. And it's also implementing some rules that we've set, for example, precisions, etc., on decimals, and they're all found within our deployment config. So just to check that that's worked, we switch over to our DataSphere space. We'll refresh this space, and what we should see is that we have a composite view here now. Perfect. So this is the one at the top that it's deployed. You can see it's deployed it as a fact as well. And if we jump in here, we can see that it's writ the SQL code for us. And as it's stated in the deployment plan, it's given the prefix for item and the prefix for schedule. And we can see we have our join conditions down here. So it's joining on 12 from 11, and it's give us our keys, so EBLN and EBLP. And of course, we can check the syntax here, and everything is valid.
Great stuff.
Yeah, that's everything deployed now. Yeah, Ronald, do you want to say anything before we finish up, or?
Yeah, just this is just the beginning. I think that's the only thing we can add to this to our quick demo is that there's already a ton of functionality in WavePath, and it will only get better the next coming weeks. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching this.
Thanks, guys.